At that time, Node.js was brand new. I still liked JavaScript, and when I found Node.js, I was okay, great. Like, I don't need to write my backend in Java. I can keep everything JavaScript. I was messing around with that in the early days, and I was like, this JavaScript thing is pretty cool. I think I'll stick with it.
What first pulled you into code? Like, I know you said you were one of the core contributors for Node.js, but that was a much different world than it is today. So was there like an earlier project or something like that where you thought, you're like, okay, I am officially a programmer now?
Yeah, I mean, good question. I did 1 year of college, and I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, and that was really my first foray into like actually writing code. That was like C and Java, but for some reason, I always felt like web pages, that the interface of like not needing to install a program, you just go to the website and then like that code is running. But always kind of resonated with me. That was back in like 2007 when I was in college. The whole JavaScript ecosystem was a lot different back then. That was before even like Google Chrome, for example, before V8. I'll probably make myself sound old here, but there was like a framework called Prototype.js, and it had this companion library called Scriptaculous. And that was like these cool effects, and these like ability to like drag a div around. That was like previously web pages weren't doing that quite yet. So that was like my first exposure to like really interactive websites. And so I was messing around with that in the early days, and I was like, this JavaScript thing is pretty cool. I think I'll stick with it.
So I'm interested because a lot of people have hot takes on this. What is your opinion on WYSIWYGs? Like, you like them? Do you not? Because in their essence, they are good. They work, but also WYSIWYGs. And if you do anything more than it's like the core level of intent, what's intended, it just absolutely does not work. So what's your opinion on those?
Yeah. Huge love-hate relationship. I think you nailed it. That if the interaction is not right, then they're a total nightmare to use. That really grinds my gears is having the cursor move between like inside of an inline code block to outside of it. And it seems like you never really know, like, if I hit that next character, is that can be inside the code block or not? And it always seems like everyone's implementation does the opposite of what I was wanting.
Yeah, it was like plugging in like a USB. It's like, okay, if I flip it this way, that doesn't work. If I flip it this way, it doesn't work. If I flip it back this way, it works again. Yeah, no, I think that's true. But was there, because I know you said you were experimenting with a lot of stuff, but was there like any like NPM package or something like that? Because I know you have like 600 plus NPM packages published and like a book and everything like that. But like, was there a core project where, not like a side project or something like that, but like something that you made and shipped, I guess, for so to say?
Well, so I guess my first real like contribution, as an NPM package, was back in a previous job that I had right out of after I dropped out of college. I was working for this company where they were in charge of monitoring temperature and humidity sensors throughout the country in pharmacy warehouses specifically. So you can imagine, like, the FDA regulates that the flu vaccine needs to be kept in a refrigerator at a very specific temperature range. And these pharmacy companies would outsource the monitoring and the data collection of those logs to this company that I was working for. So I was doing a lot of traveling technician kind of stuff. I was in the warehouses calibrating the sensors and offloading the data. But I quickly learned that this company, they didn't even have like a central database for all this data collection. They were literally just like retrieving CSV files, offloading these data collectors. I had to go in there, plug in to the USB manually and grab the data files. It was never really like my assigned job to fix that. But like for me personally, like it was a nightmare trying to keep track of these files. And I was like, we need a database. It wasn't just like one brand of data sensors. It was like a whole handful of them. So some of them were CSV files, some of them were this like archaic SQL database like system. So I was like, we need a database. We need to normalize all this data, and then we can do the chart generation and stuff based on the central database. So I kind of like took that upon myself to do. Yeah, I ended up having to write a handful of software that at the time was ASP.NET, like C, C# Windows applications, and kind of shout out to the old Visual Studio. I was whipping out those GUIs like drag and drop. Like I was doing it really fast. The interface was really good. But I guess circling back to Node.js, like I said, at that time, Node.js was brand new. I still liked JavaScript, and when I found Node.js, I was like, okay, great. Like I don't need to write like my backend in Java. I can keep everything JavaScript. And that was really cool. And so I started migrating some of these internal tools for this data collection and chart reporting process. I started migrating some of that into early Node.js, which was, a little bit of a gamble. If the people running the company were, more involved with the technical implementation side of things, they might have been like, no, this is too new. We don't want to take a risk. But since I had the full say over that, I did it.